right. Looks like we are ready to roll. So thank you everyone for joining us today. We have today with us Tate Hamill, PKWARE's Chief Product Innovator of IBM Systems. He is our IBM Z guru, and he's going to bring the energy today. As always, please put your questions in the chat. We'll try and get to them at the end of the call. And if for some reason we don't, we will certainly reach out to you one-off after. So with that, Tate, I'll hand it to you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Sarah. Appreciate that. And certainly thank you to our customers and partners that have joined us for the short but relevant webinar regarding moving from PKZIP to PK Encrypt. And like I said, I took a brief look at the attendee list, and happy to see we've got some partners, customers, and some friends in the audience. So that's great to see. So looking at the agenda today, we're obviously going to talk about, more or less why we're talking about this today. We're going to introduce PK Encrypt, some of those key features and benefits. We're going to talk about where we are going on the roadmap, and then some of those customers who have made the move. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So companies clearly have a responsibility to protect sensitive and PII data of their customers, their employees, and certainly their beneficiaries. And that's exactly what these regulatory mandates attempt to achieve. But I think we all know that the cost to achieving these various mandates is clearly, it could be very expensive, right? But nothing compares to the fines associated with regulatory infractions or a data breach that leads to costly ransoms, right? And certainly the worst of all is the cost and damage to your company's reputation and possible future revenue. And just when you thought that these mandates were already rigid, they have all recently undergone mandate hardening. And this means that the requirements are being strengthened, with one particular standout in the data security space, and that is end-to-end encryption. This hardening is really designed to fill in the gaps that are prominent in today's off-prem data transfers and data sharing. I think all too often, when copying data that is encrypted on disk, you lose that wonderful Z-based protection, right? It's just a copy that's no longer encrypted using pervasive encryption, disk-based encryption, etc. So that unprotected copy then gets inserted into a transfer portal where then it's going to get encrypted again, but when it gets spit out on the other side, it gets decrypted. So, that is the problem. You've got this heavily fragmented process where you've got exposed data sitting at both ends of the transfer mechanism, right? So this is an example of something that's no longer acceptable. And that's what the strengthening and hardening of these mandates attempts to achieve, as well as some other items, right? So next, what's a conversation about security without bringing up the 800-pound gorilla in the room? And of course, that is all things quantum. And I think with nearly weekly to monthly breakthroughs in quantum computing, sense of urgency around post-quantum crypto is real. I think we all know that the Z16 and now the 17 are PQC ready, with 3 finalized algorithms that are ready for deployment. And just as a quick note, those new FIPS standards are FIPS 203, which is the modular lattice key encapsulation mechanism. So that's the Crystal's Kyber. You got FIPS 204, which is MLDSA, which is the digital signing. And then you got FIPS 205, which is stateless digital signing. But it's using a Sphinx algorithm that's more costly, consumes more resources, but it is stronger. Nonetheless, these 3 FIPS standards have been published. They are the standards. They are what we're using and what we're moving forward with. Z16 and 17 are ready to roll with those. And that's kind of where all things are going with post-quantum crypto. So it's an exciting time to be alive, but it also absolutely demands our attention. So, and finally, all of this needs automation so that it is auditable and scalable. And this really is that visibility requirement, being able to prove to your auditors that you are in fact going through all the burning hoops to achieve certain status within these mandates. So again, a lot of important things are happening right now, and that's really why we're here talking about, these frameworks and these mandates. But at the heart of them, they all have persistent end-to-end data security at their core. Now, all those reasons we just discussed are why PK Encrypt is more relevant today, right? Therefore, I really just want to spend the next few minutes with you to discuss how PK Encrypt for Z is well suited to not only replace your existing PKZIP implementation, but once upgraded, to act as a springboard for rapid expansion of utilizing PQC and sharing strongly and persistently encrypted data with the distributed world, or really wherever it needs to go, right? So we're going to dive into these a bit more in just a moment, but a few quick reasons why PK Encrypt is the ideal replacement for PKZIP in your production environment. First and foremost, it's built on time-tested PKZIP foundation of reliability and stability. And it's clearly made for Z, fully integrated with nearly every chipset, API, and capability that is inherent to IBM Z, including seamless integration with IBM pervasive encryption. Right? So it answers the call for persistent end-to-end encryption of your data, whether it's at rest or while on the move. And as always, our encrypted data travels in the world's most portable file type, and that's the zip file, making it 100% cross-platform compatible with other PK Encrypt solutions or capabilities on other platforms and environments. And for those of you who've been using PKZIP embedded in your batch jobs for the last 2+ decades, I think you know that you can send that zip file anywhere and it can be unzipped and restored for the target environment. Such is the case with our encrypted data. All right. So again, we really haven't skipped a beat in making sure that very sensitive and critical information is still portable and secure from an end-to-end persistent encryption perspective. So again, meeting those hardened, strengthened regulatory mandates using PK Encrypt, right? So now that I've done the high level, let's just dive into some features and benefits of PK Encrypt. So here you got it, unbreakable security with flexible options. So whether we're leveraging AES 256, there's obviously other algorithms out there, but AES really is the best one of the most efficient out there for encryption, but AES 256 and various key links. And we can use OpenPGP based encryption and signing through OpenPGP standard, where you could secure communications and data exchange with business partners, right? And to be transparent here, arguably OpenPGP is probably the number one method for managing and encrypting and sharing secure data with business partners. It's probably a 9-to-1 compared to using X.509. So, like I said, OpenPGP extremely popular. But speaking of X.509 based encryption, signing and authentication, you can actually broaden that encryption options across internal and external workflows. So OpenPGP, X.509, even strong password-based encryption, right? We can do all those things, however you choose to go about doing it. But you also have seamless integration, right? So the key management and automation through the IBM SAF, ICSF, key stores, and PKI infrastructure, where you can simplify enterprise-grade cryptographic key management, digital signing authentication, or you can even use our key maker, where you can generate and manage encryption keys per IBM standards. Or you've got the certificate revocation list checking and automated key discovery and retrieval. Again, so we really have done a lot to not only integrate with all things IBM and the infrastructure they provide, but we really have tried to make those items even easier to use, leveraging PK Encrypt. So again, we've been doing this for a long time. We've gotten a lot of fantastic user feedback and how it works integrated with IBM. So we think we're at the top of our game right now. So then there's a lot of great things to come. But one of the things I actually want to emphasize though is how truly agnostic PKWARE is when it comes to working with, I'll just say generically, security, right? Specifically, since all security implementations regarding public and private keys is done to a standard, it'd really be difficult to say whose is better, right? So that's why we allow you to turn on FIPS mode, IBM FIPS mode. You really have a whole bunch of different levers and mechanisms to use the way that you need to or are required to. But in the end, we can work with what you're already using, whether it's defined in RACF, a third-party solution, or even an HSM. We can work with it or replace it. So What I would emphasize though is our ease of use, right? So anyway, these fantastic features leads to incredible benefits, protecting your organization and data against data breaches and evolving threats, right? So we hear about data breaches all the time. At PKWARE, our MO basically is that it's not a matter of what if, but when are you going to be breached, right? We hear all the time about how important leads and feeds are or whatnot, but again, everyone gets through those all the time. I mean, routinely, right? Every other day, it seems like there is a new breach report that's out. Somebody got hacked or whatnot. I just wrote something on LinkedIn about the TAP breach. Again, these things are ridiculous, but they happen so often, you almost start forgetting about them. But the reason why they're successful and why they make it grant a lot of attention is because they're getting away with stealing a lot of sensitive data. And the latest example, they got away with like government IDs and driver's licenses, right? So, here's an idea where they decide to collect a lot of, information, making the customer believe that they were protecting them or it was a secure and trusted environment, while all at the same time doing nothing to protect that data, right? So rather than practicing data minimization, hey, if you can't protect it, don't collect it, right? So they collected it and then they didn't protect it. It's the worst case scenario. Again, you guys are smarter than that. You guys actually have to live by completely different standards than the TAP, but you get the idea, right? If you're going to collect it, you need to protect it, and it needs to be protected across the board at all times. So again, assume you're going to get hacked. What's going to happen if they take your data, right? So adherence to these regulatory standards are actually going to tell us how successful you will be in stopping these threats. But end-to-end encryption, at rest and in motion, with no gaps is the only way to stop this threat. And once you have achieved this milestone, you will usher in a period of rest and reliability in the eyes of your customers and investors. And until then, you could be like the rest of us out there, where, again, just a few months ago, my hospital, where like x-rays, personal medical, all that stuff, it got hacked. It was ransomware. And it was great because a friend of mine, I should have shared this with you guys, shared a picture of what the screen looks like when they logged in the morning. What she inadvertently didn't, was not aware of what she was showing. On the base of her monitor, it actually had a post-it note that said voicemail password. Now, again, that was voicemail, but this gives you the mentality of where I think most of the corporate world lives. And that is, security is something that I don't really have to worry about. I'm going to put my password on a post-it note on my screen. And she shared that with me, thinking that she was taking a picture of the ransomware message on the monitor. But again, this is the mindset. Our industry the industries that we play in are far more rigid and really just don't allow for something like that. But nonetheless, it's something that we all have to be concerned about, right? Because sometimes it just takes one person, not even a bad actor, but just a mistake, right? So we're all beholden to these things, and we all must act with a good deal of consciousness when we collect personal, sensitive, identifiable information from our customers and clients. So again, I know we're all there, but again, this is going to be a big thing if you can achieve this for your customer base. All right, so one last shout out here for one of the best solved challenges in the secure data exchange space, and that is this is partner link, right? This is part of PK Encrypt. And what it does is it addresses a large problem in encrypted data sharing. As all too often, when you have to share reports or data with an external source, and think about the Treasury Department or a clearinghouse or a business partner, and collectively deciding how or on the best approach to address these needs, they clearly can be challenging, right? And if you're only talking about a few organizations, that's fine. But if you're talking about 100, you and 100 different business partners, deciding on the best approach to address these needs can clearly be challenging. Now, if you're fortunate that you all agree on the approach, such as we've all decided that we all need to use OpenPGP to encrypt the transferred shared data, that's fantastic. That's a big obstacle that you've just overcome. But then the bigger discussion opens up, well, what product can we use to receive the same results, right? And we've got them on mainframe, on the AS400, on distributed. We've got a hybrid cloud, this and that, a Linux server. What product does all this? I think you all know where I'm going with this. But nonetheless, if you need to send that information to such a disparate group of people, then the answer is PartnerLink. PartnerLink can actually do that for you, right? So the reason this addresses the challenge is that PartnerLink acts as like a hub and spoke model where the sponsor sits at the center of distribution, right? So if you're the big bank or whatever that is the sponsor that owns the solution, the partners are the ones that are receiving the protected data, right? They're those 100 partners you got to send to, including the Treasury Department or whatever it might be. But the sponsor owns it. The partners are the one that are receiving the protected data. And then PartnerLink's flexibility allows you and your partners to choose from a range of encryption and signing options from X.509, strong passwords, to OpenPGP, all leveraging AES-256. But then here's the sweet spot for the partner, for the sponsor. All partners go to PKWARE for installation, configuration, and use assistance, right? Removing the sponsor from having to support all those clients, end users, business partners, whomever they have to send this data to, right? If you're the sponsor, send your partner to us. We will get them set up with the appropriate product for that appropriate platform. And then all they need to do is go out to the sponsor website and download the sponsor distribution package. I kind of think of it like a game cartridge, but nonetheless, it's something that's got all the information that the sponsor and the partner need to exchange encrypted data. And they literally drop this into a folder in their PK Encrypt installation. And just like that, the sponsor can now send encrypted and signed data to the respective partners. The partner wanted to send encrypted data and signed data back to the sponsor. They would actually need to set up the sponsor with the appropriate certificate, etc. That's an additional step if they want to go bidirectional. But sending from the sponsor to the partner, that's easy. Or if any of your partners are already PK Encrypt customers, they can now send you encrypted data as well. Signed and encrypted data. But the whole point is to make this as easy as humanly possible. The largest distribution PKWARE has, and I'm going to say oddly enough, it's located in Japan, but there are 4,000 partners that one of our sponsors is sending all this data to on a very routine basis. That is a huge easy button. That's solving a real big problem on trying to coordinate 4,000, or a smaller example, 100 different partners trying to coordinate the solution and the answer to how you're going to solve this challenge, right? PartnerLink steps up and addresses that challenge for you and your partners. So that's PartnerLink in a nutshell. It addresses the big challenge of coordinated end-to-end persistent security plan that is easy for everyone to use. It's a no quibbles approach to solving the big challenge in the security space. And collectively, my friends, that's PK Encrypt, a PKZIP base with a lot of modern cybersecurity tools designed to help you meet regulatory mandates and customers' expectations. All right, so where are we going with all this, right? So here's the PKWARE roadmap and timeline for both PKZIP and PK Encrypt. And while I'm not really going to get into a lot of PKZIP stuff, and we're going to be going down a path here with Zoe, we've got a user interface and some AI that is planned, but it is planned for after what you see on this roadmap, right? So we're out there currently meeting the Z17 and ZOS 3.2 challenge, making sure that we are ready to go for ZOS 3.2, and so we just released 17.03. All right. The next and last release of 17.0 is going to be this 1704, where we're doing a full-blown audit on all the existing FIPS implementations. And then really starting in Q4 is when we're going to be full steam ahead on post-quantum crypto implementations for the next release of IBM the PK Encrypt for Z 18.0. And again, it will include the three FIPS that I recommended or told you about at the beginning: 203, 204, 205. two key signing options in there as well. But all those things are coming, and we expect to have the first of our products start rolling out in Q1 of 2026. And the AS400 or the IBM-i is going to have a release in Q2 of 2026. So again, a lot of stuff's happening at PKWARE. I think a lot of you also know that we're concurrently working on PK Protect and Schema Link technology. So it's all hands on deck at PKWARE Engineering, keeping the bit mines busy and producing a lot of software. And hopefully you guys are going to be able to take advantage of a lot of that. And that's coming to you guys very, very soon. So again, we talked about this urgency. So why should I upgrade, right? We talked about there's clearly a sense of urgency with the mandates that have been strengthened. For more onus is on the data-centric security, where that security persistently stays with the data no matter where it goes. And then finally, there's PQC, right? But so this question really comes to so why should I upgrade now though? I don't like upgrades. Upgrades make me nervous. So I've got a few good reasons why. All right. So first and foremost, PK Encrypt is built on the foundation of PKZIP, right? It's been running on the mainframe since 1995. So PK Encrypt really began its journey 21 years ago, right? Where we came out as under the name of SecureZip. It's gone through many iterations with integrations here and there for IBM chipsets, SAF, APIs, etc. over the years. And for 2 decades, this project has been stable and reliable. And again, it's even built on a more stable and more reliable PKZIP. Right? So, it's deeply integrated to the IBM tech stack with the SAF and ICSF, CPACF, and all the acronyms. And then we've also solved for the exchange of critical data with external business partners through our partner link crypto capabilities. And we've done that for the last 19 years. So, and I'm going to apologize here. I realized I was copying and pasting from a multi-step batch job. You guys can go, oh, your JCL's wrong. So you can put it in, send me an email. But anyway, so here's further proof, right? So can you tell me what product or what library is sitting behind this batch job? Is it PKZIP or PK Encrypt, right? And it's kind of a trick question because really, if you're running PKZIP today and you upgrade to PK Encrypt, it is a zero change upgrade for you, right? It's all the same parameters. It's all the same this and that. And assuming you didn't do anything silly like hard code your load library into your batch jobs, we're executing the exact same program. Execute program PKZIP or PK Unzip, right? So literally, you can swap out your PKZIP with PK Encrypt load lives, and you'd never know the difference. It's going to continue to do the exact same thing that it did yesterday, right? So you switch to PK Encrypt today for PKZIP jobs, right? Get that product updated. It's like changing your release, right? It's the second digit in there. It's the same product more or less, right? It's just got a lot more stuff to it. So switch to PK Encrypt today to make sure that your PKZIP jobs that you've been running embedded in your batch jobs for a couple of decades now still run. All right. You can call me if it doesn't. I'm sure you will. But I'm telling you right now, they're going to run and you're never going to know the difference. And once you're all like warm and fuzzy inside that your batch jobs are continuing to run, that's when you use it as a springboard to start leveraging PK Encrypt crypto for tomorrow's persistent end-to-end encryption, like you are required to do, right? So again, it's a no quibbles. It's the easiest upgrade to a new product that you can possibly do. You'll never notice the difference. And then you will have all these additional tools at your fingertips. And if you're already sending data with your batch jobs off to an existing client, customer, or a clearinghouse or the Treasury Department, adding end-to-end encryption to an existing batch job can often be as easy as adding an additional config file that it reads in, and you're off and running. It's really quite simple. Okay, there's probably a little bit more to it than that, but really it is quite simple. So that being said, who are some of these organizations that have already made the leap? Well, we've already got 21 of the top 25 banks that have been using PK Encrypt that have already made the jump to PK Encrypt and taking advantage of it. We're near 30% of the Fortune 100 companies use PK Protect and PK Encrypt. And then I know this, and just one of these organizations up there that you see right here on these icons or these logos, just one of those alone carries several millions of those transactions, encrypted transactions every single day using PK Encrypt, right? Because we've got an API that you can embed into your applications, and they're using the heck out of it. So again, a lot of reasons to upgrade, very few not to upgrade. Again, it's tried and true, and it's been around for a long time. So again, that's kind of my pitch, and I'm hoping that you all heard me. PK Encrypt, very trusted, very reliable, very stable for 20 plus years, built on top of PKZIP reputation. So you got, I'm going to argue, nothing to fear. So that being said, I'm going to say thank you, and I'm going to turn it over to the Q&A section, and I think back to Sarah.
Yeah, thanks, Tate. So that was great. Thank you for that overview. It looks like we've only got about 3 minutes left, so I think we'll cover off on one of these questions that came in, and it is, does PK Encrypt for Z let you automate encryption for data sets, or is it mostly manual like PKZIP? Just wondering how much easier it will make things. And you kind of touched on this, but maybe go a level deeper.
Yeah. So no, it is a good question. So obviously automation is the name of the game. Nobody wants to do anything manually. So naturally you've got these batch jobs that are sitting out there. Obviously if you want to embed, if you want to open up your JCL, by all means, go ahead and do that. But by far the single easiest way to upgrade your existing batch jobs, and naturally there's going to be nuance based upon where you're sending it, etc. But the single easiest way to upgrade your existing PKZIP batch jobs to include persistent end-to-end encryption, and then one day post-quantum crypto end-to-end encryption, would be using a configuration or a parm file that will allow you to read in those extra parameters. And that could be included at the very beginning of the job itself. But nonetheless may require some additional input. But nonetheless, depending on how far you want to go, usually adding in an X.509 encrypted parameter into an existing batch job is no more than 2 lines of code, or 2 parameters. And all you're doing is pointing back to your SAF environment and looking at the key store going, oh, I'm looking for a common name for this key, and there it is, and then it encrypts it based upon the method you told it to. So again, that process, I guess I've been doing encryption and doing X.509 and OpenPGP for a couple of decades now. So I don't really think too much about it, but I know it sits at front and center for a lot of our customers. And I think PKWARE has done a lot. And certainly with the feedback from our client base, has done a lot to make implementing end-to-end encryption as easy and less daunting as some people have racked it up to be. So I think people who've worked with encryption for a long time will find this an easy upgrade. So and to start using it. So there you go.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Tate. As always, please reach out to your customer success team, reach out to Tate, reach out to myself. Let us know. We're here to be a resource for you. So with that, we'll end the webinar, but have a great week, and we hope to talk to you all soon.
Absolutely. Thanks everyone. Appreciate
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.